The strange signal appeared on Eliza Morgan's monitor at exactly 3:17 a.m. Earth Standard Time. She had been watching the deep space scanners for 8 hours straight, and the soft beep nearly made her spill her coffee. "Control, this is Captain Morgan. I'm picking up an unusual pattern from Sector 7. Can you confirm?" She kept her voice steady despite her racing heart. "Stand by, Captain," came the reply. After 30 seconds, "Confirmed. Signal does not match any known Earth transmission patterns. For decades, humanity had sent messages into space. For decades, they had heard nothing back. Until now." 23 days later, the Galaxian Confederation's scout ship entered the solar system. Their technology was unlike anything humans had seen before. Sleek vessels that seemed to bend light around them, weapons that could vaporize an asteroid with barely a flicker of energy use. Dr. Alan Rivers stood next to Captain Morgan as they watched the recorded footage of the alien ship for the 100th time. "Their technology is at least 300 years ahead of ours," Rivers said, pushing his glasses up. "But that doesn't mean they're 300 years smarter." On the Galaxian command vessel, Admiral Zor Thax studied the reports with growing disdain. These humans still burn fossil fuels on parts of their planet. They've barely touched their moon. They're practically infants. Vexler, a junior diplomat with unusual interest in primitive species, dared to speak up. "With respect, Admiral, their historical records show remarkable adaptability. When threatened, they advance very quickly." Zor Thax waved a limb dismissively. "All species say that about themselves. It's a comforting myth. The data suggests otherwise," Vexler insisted. "In just 1 century, they went from basic flight to landing on their moon. Their world wars pushed their technology forward at rates our predictive models can barely account for." "Enough," Zor Thax said. "The Council has already decided. We will offer them protectorate status. They should be grateful. Most species at their level aren't even given that option." The first meeting between humans and aliens took place at a neutral location, an orbital platform hastily constructed in Earth's orbit. Captain Morgan led the human delegation, while Admiral Zor Thax represented the Galaxian Confederation. "We welcome you to the galactic community," Zor Thax began, his words translated by a device that made his voice sound metallic and cold. "The Council has reviewed your civilization and determined you qualify for protectorate status within our confederation." Morgan kept her face neutral, though she noticed the lack of actual welcome in the alien's tone. "And what exactly does protectorate status entail?" "We will guide your development, prevent you from making technological mistakes that could harm yourselves or others. In return, we require access to your resources and regular tribute payments." The humans in the room exchanged glances. Sam Phillips, the Earth Council president, leaned forward. "That sounds less like an alliance and more like subjugation." Zor Thax's upper limbs twitched, a gesture the humans would later learn indicated irritation. "You misunderstand. This is the standard arrangement for species at your development level. The alternative is isolation. No trade, no cultural exchange, no technology sharing." Morgan noticed how the alien said technology sharing, but had only mentioned taking their resources, not giving anything in return. As the meeting ended, Morgan walked with Rivers back to their shuttle. "They think we're children," Rivers said quietly. "Worse," Morgan replied. "They think we're obedient children." Back on the Galaxian vessel, Vexler approached Admiral Zor Thax. "I believe we made a poor impression. The humans seemed offended by our offer." "They'll accept it eventually," Zor Thax said. "They have no choice. Their weapons couldn't even scratch our hull plating." "I studied thousands of their wars," Vexler persisted. "They rarely surrendered just because they're outmatched." Zor Thax turned away. "Then they'll learn a painful lesson about the natural order of the galaxy." As the alien ships moved back to their holding position near Jupiter, Captain Morgan gazed out at the stars from her command center window. "They have no idea what they're getting into," she whispered to herself. No idea at all. 6 months passed since the first meeting. 6 months of tense exchanges and failed negotiations. The Calaxians had established a base on Europa, one of Jupiter's moons, without asking permission. Humans had protested. The Calaxians had ignored them. Now Admiral Zorthax's face filled the screens in the Earth Council's emergency meeting room. His expression showed no emotion as he delivered his message. The Council's patience has limits. You have 1 month to accept our generous offer of protection. After that, we will consider your planet a non-cooperative zone. The transmission ended abruptly. Council President Sam Phillips looked around the table at the grim faces of Earth's leaders. They're not even pretending to be friendly anymore, she said. Defense Secretary Kate Martinez tapped her fingers against the table. We've been studying their technology for 6 months. We've made progress, but not enough to fight them directly. Then we don't fight directly, Phillips replied. Not yet. In a secret facility beneath the Rocky Mountains, engineer Jack Robinson held up what looked like a small silver marble. 20 scientists watched him with intense focus. This is what powers their shield generators, he explained. We can't replicate it yet, but we can use it. If we collect enough of their gift technology, we can build our own versions. One scientist raised her hand. But they only give us outdated tech. Toys, basically. Robinson smiled. Even their toys are advanced by our standards. And they're careless. Every time they visit, they leave something behind. Scanning residue, waste material, communication fragments. In his private chambers on the Europa base, Vexler reviewed human historical records. The more he read, the more concerned he became. He requested an urgent meeting with Admiral Zorthax. Admiral, I must insist you reconsider this ultimatum, Vexler said. These humans have a pattern. When threatened, they unite and fight with unexpected effectiveness. Zorthax barely looked up from his reports. Your concern is noted. It's more than concern, Vexler persisted. Their historical data shows 17 instances where technologically superior forces were defeated by human guerrilla tactics. They're also highly creative in ways our people are not. Are you suggesting, Zorthax said slowly, that primitives who haven't even colonized their own solar system could threaten the Confederation? I'm suggesting we offer them real alliance terms instead of subjugation. Zorthax finally looked at Vexler directly. The Council has decided. I have decided. Your obsession with these creatures is becoming problematic. Back on Earth, Captain Morgan had been promoted to Admiral. She now led the newly formed United Earth Defense Fleet. The fleet existed more on paper than in reality, but the promotion gave her authority to prepare humanity's response. Their ultimatum expires in 27 days, she told her officers. We'll use every minute. In labs across the planet, scientists and engineers worked around the clock. They didn't need to be ordered or convinced. The threat was clear to everyone. Kate Martinez established training camps where soldiers from different countries learned to work together. Old rivalries were set aside in the face of a common enemy. They expect us to either surrender or fight conventionally, she told her international team of generals. We won't do either. On the night before the ultimatum deadline, President Phillips addressed the world from the United Nations building in New York. Tomorrow, we will officially decline the Calaxian offer, she said. Her voice was calm but firm. We have prepared as best we can for their response. Whatever happens next, remember this: Earth stands united. For the first time in our long and divided history, all humans stand as one. In his command center on Europa, Admiral Zorthax reviewed the assault plan one final time. He had decided not to wait for the deadline to expire. The humans needed a demonstration of power to understand their situation. Target their remote military facility in the northern region called Alaska, he ordered. Minimal force, just enough to show our capabilities. Sir, his second-in-command said hesitantly, Vexler's reports indicate that attacking without warning might unite them further. Zorthax's upper limbs twitched with irritation. I'm not concerned about uniting primitives. Execute the plan at dawn, Earth time. They'll surrender by nightfall. As the Calaxian ships prepared for the first strike, Admiral Morgan stood at her window watching the stars again. Somehow, she knew tomorrow would change everything. She just didn't know if humanity would survive the change. The Calaxian strike came at 5:13 a.m. Alaska time. 3 ships appeared in the sky above the Pine Ridge military base. There was no warning, no final chance to surrender. Green light flashed from the largest ship, and half the base vanished in a cloud of smoke and fire. The attack lasted only 2 minutes. When it ended, 200 people were dead. Many were soldiers, but some were family members who lived on the base, children who had been asleep in their beds. News of the attack spread across the world in minutes. Videos showed the green flashes, the destruction, the bodies being pulled from rubble. Admiral Morgan watched from her command center, her face like stone. "They didn't even wait for the deadline," she said quietly. President Phillips called an emergency broadcast. Her face appeared on screens worldwide, her expression grim but determined. "Today, the Calaxian Confederation has shown its true nature," she said. "They speak of protection while killing our people. They talk of peace while preparing for war. They have mistaken our patience for weakness." She paused, looking directly into the camera. "That is a mistake they will regret." In his lab, Dr. Alan Rivers had finally decoded more of the alien language. What he found made his blood run cold. "They never intended to offer us real alliance," he told Admiral Morgan later that day. "Their word for us translates roughly as useful animals. They see us as smart livestock." Morgan nodded slowly. "That explains their approach. Have you found any weaknesses we can exploit?" "Maybe," Rivers said. "Their communication patterns suggest they think very logically, very mathematically. They don't seem to understand unpredictable behavior." On Europa base, Vexillor watched the human news broadcasts with growing alarm. The humans weren't cowering as Admiral Zorthax had predicted. Instead, their response was unified anger and determination. "Admiral, I must protest this action," Vexillor said when he was finally granted an audience. "The attack has united them, just as I warned." Zorthax dismissed the concern with a wave. "A temporary emotional response. Our sensors show they've begun moving their primitive ships into defensive positions. They're preparing for conventional war, a war they cannot win." "That's what every invader in their history has said," Vexillor muttered, but Zorthax was no longer listening. In the underground facility, Jack Robinson's team worked frantically to integrate the alien technology they had studied. Their first breakthrough came 3 days after the Alaska attack. "It works," Robinson said, his voice filled with tired excitement. He held up what looked like a modified satellite dish. "This will disrupt their shield harmonics for approximately 6 seconds. Not long, but maybe long enough." Defense Secretary Martinez gathered military leaders from around the world. "Forget everything you know about conventional warfare," she told them. "We need to think differently. They expect us to fight like we've always fought each other. We won't." Admiral Morgan received her new orders directly from President Phillips. She would command Earth's first unified defense fleet, a cobbled-together collection of spacecraft never designed for war. But they had been modified with Robinson's innovations. "We can't match their firepower," Morgan told her pilots. "So we won't try. We'll be quick. We'll be unpredictable. We'll hit them where they don't expect, then disappear before they can respond." 1 month after the Alaska attack, the Calaxians launched their second strike. This time they targeted military bases around the world simultaneously. But the humans were ready. As Calaxian ships appeared in Earth orbit, they were met with a swarm of small, fast vessels attacking in patterns no Calaxian battle computer could predict. "Impossible," Admiral Zorthax said as he watched the battle displays. "How are they penetrating our shields?" His second-in-command had no answer. The supposedly primitive humans were somehow bypassing defense systems that had protected Calaxian ships for centuries. As the battle raged, Vexillor quietly began preparing a new report for the Confederation Council. Its title, The human problem. Why conventional military strategy will fail. 3 months into the war, the Calaxians were confused. Their battle computers predicted easy victories, but reality told a different story. Humans fought in ways that made no sense to the logical alien minds. They're attacking with damaged ships, a Calaxian commander reported to Admiral Zorthax. Our scans show critical system failures, yet they continue the attack run. What the aliens didn't understand was that these damaged ships were part of Jack Robinson's Operation Trojan Horse. The ships only appeared broken. Inside, they carried powerful EMP devices designed to shut down Calaxian systems when they got close enough. Robinson stood in the war room, pointing to a holographic display of his latest creation. They rely too much on their scanners. They believe what their technology tells them. We can use that against them. Meanwhile, Dr. Alan Rivers made his own discovery. He had been studying tissue samples from a dead Vexnar alien recovered from a downed scout ship. The Vexnar have an unusual respiratory system, he explained to Admiral Morgan. They're highly sensitive to certain compounds that don't affect humans at all. Morgan leaned forward, suddenly interested. Could we use this? We already are, Rivers replied. I've developed a gas that will incapacitate Vexnar troops without harming humans. It's non-lethal. They'll recover in a few hours. But it gives us an advantage in ground combat. Kate Martinez put this knowledge to immediate use. Her special forces teams began using the gas in their operations against Calaxian ground troops. The aliens were stunned to see their Vexnar soldiers collapse while humans walked through the gas unarmed. On the Europa base, Vexler continued his study of human behavior. What he saw both fascinated and terrified him. They learn from every defeat, he told his small group of like-minded colleagues. Each time we destroy one of their ships, the next generation of ships comes back stronger, with countermeasures we haven't seen before. The Admiral doesn't want to hear it, one colleague said. He believes victory is still certain. Vexler shook his head. Then he isn't looking at the data. 3 months ago, their weapons couldn't penetrate our shields at all. Now they can create gaps for 6 seconds. In another 3 months, who knows? The Confederation Council was beginning to have its own doubts. Reports of unexpected defeats were coming in regularly now. During an emergency session, one council member directly questioned Admiral Zorthax. You assured us this would be a simple operation. Instead, we lose ships and troops daily to these primitives. Zorthax's limbs twitched with barely controlled anger. They've had some minor successes due to unexpected tactics. We are adjusting our approach. Perhaps, said another council member, we should consider negotiation. Several others nodded in agreement. Negotiation. Zorthax sounded outrage. With animals who got lucky, I will not have it. As the council argued, humans continued to innovate. Robinson's engineering team worked day and night on their biggest project yet, understanding and replicating the Calaxian propulsion system from a captured scout ship. If we can crack this, Robinson told his exhausted team, we can take the fight to them instead of just defending Earth. Admiral Morgan put their innovations to good use. Instead of large, predictable fleet movements, she sent small groups of ships on seemingly random attack patterns. The Calaxians never knew where the next strike would come from. They expect us to form up in neat lines and exchange fire, she told her captains. We won't give them the battle they're prepared for. In his private chambers, Admiral Zorthax reviewed the latest defeat. A small human force had destroyed a major supply depot, capturing valuable technology in the process. His second-in-command stood nervously nearby. How? Zorthax demanded. How did they even find the depot? It was hidden. We believe they followed one of our automated transports, Admiral. Zorthax slammed his limb against the wall, cracking the hard surface. They were supposed to surrender after the first attack. This wasn't supposed to be a real war. As he raged, a new alert sounded. Humans had just captured their first intact Calaxian battlecruiser. The captured Calaxian battlecruiser was the biggest prize yet. Jack Robinson and his team moved into the enormous ship, setting up labs and workstations throughout its sleek corridors. They slept there, ate there, and worked around the clock to unlock its secrets. "The propulsion system is like nothing we've ever seen," Robinson told Admiral Morgan during her inspection visit. He pointed to a glowing blue core at the center of the engine room. "It doesn't just move through space, it bends space around the ship." Morgan ran her hand along a control panel. "How long until we can use this technology ourselves?" Robinson wiped sweat from his forehead. "Weeks, not months. We've had enough pieces to study before, but never the whole puzzle." He smiled tiredly. "They made a mistake giving us an intact ship." On the Calaxian homeworld, the Confederation Council called an emergency session. The loss of a battlecruiser was unprecedented. "This has gone too far," said the eldest council member. "We should never have followed Admiral Zorthax's recommendation to treat humans as simple primitives." Zorthax stood before them, his normally smooth movements now jerky with stress. "One setback does not determine the outcome. I have already ordered our most powerful weapons prepared. We will end this quickly." Vexler, who had been granted permission to address the council, spoke up. "More weapons aren't the answer. Each time we escalate, the humans adapt faster. They're learning our technology, our tactics, even our biology." "You sympathize with them too much," Zorthax snapped. "I understand them," Vexler corrected, "which is why I know they won't surrender, no matter what weapons we use." As the council argued, Dr. Alan Rivers made another breakthrough. He had been communicating secretly with a group of Vexnar scientists who shared Vexler's concerns about the war. "They're not all against us," he explained to President Phillips in a secure meeting. "The Vexnar especially are beginning to question the war. They're the scientists of the Confederation, and they respect our ability to learn so quickly." Phillips looked thoughtful. "Can we use this divide?" "We already are," Rivers said. They'd been sharing information. Not weapons technology, but details about Confederation politics, weaknesses in their alliance. Kate Martinez's special forces used this intelligence to plan their most daring operation yet. Under cover of darkness, they landed on Europa, infiltrated the Calaxian base, and planted Robinson's devices throughout the facility. The devices weren't weapons. They were advanced recorders that tapped into the base's communication systems. "Now we'll hear everything they say," Martinez told Morgan afterward. "Their plans, their fears, their disagreements. The information they gathered proved priceless. They learned of growing tensions between the 5 species of the Confederation. The Vexnar were openly questioning the war, while 2 other species, the Trell and the Baxon, were beginning to withdraw their support. Robinson's team finally succeeded in adapting the alien propulsion technology. Earth's first FTL ship, named Defiance, was ready for its test flight. Robinson stood proudly beside it as Admiral Morgan addressed the crew. "Today we show them that we won't just defend our world. We can take the fight to theirs if necessary." Her words were broadcast to viewing stations around the world, where billions of humans watched in hope and pride. As the Defiance prepared for launch, Admiral Zorthax faced a new crisis. His personal shuttle exploded moments after he left it. The assassination attempt failed, but it confirmed his suspicions of treachery within the Confederation ranks. "It was Vexler," he raged to his loyal officers. "He and his Vexnar sympathizers tried to undermine me, but I will not be stopped." His second-in-command looked doubtful. "We have no evidence it was Vexler." "I need no evidence. Prepare my flagship. We will end this human resistance once and for all with a direct attack on their homeworld." Back on Earth, the Defiance rose smoothly from its launch pad, its engines glowing with blue fire. As it accelerated, space itself seemed to ripple around it. Then, in a flash of light, it vanished. Humanity's first faster-than-light journey had begun. The Defiance returned from its test flight with data that changed everything. It had traveled to Jupiter and back in minutes, proving the FTL drive worked perfectly. More importantly, its sensors had mapped Calaxian positions throughout the solar system. For the first time, humans had a complete picture of the enemy's deployment. They have a forward base in the Alpha Centauri system, Admiral Morgan told Earth's War Council, pointing to the star map. That's where they staged their ships before attacking us. President Phillips studied the map carefully. Can we reach it? With the new drives, yes, Morgan replied. And I believe we should. It's time to show them we can hit back. 1 year into the war, Earth launched its first offensive operation beyond the solar system. 5 ships led by Admiral Morgan, all equipped with the reverse-engineered FTL drives, jumped to Alpha Centauri. The journey took less than an hour. The Calaxians at the forward base were completely unprepared. They had never imagined humans could reach them so quickly or attack so boldly. Alarms sounded throughout the base as human ships appeared seemingly out of nowhere. Deploy Robinson's new weapon systems, Morgan ordered from her command chair on the flagship Determination. The human ships fired strange-looking devices that attached to Calaxian vessels. Once attached, they emitted pulses that disrupted the alien shields in expanding patterns. Shield failure on all vessels, reported Morgan's tactical officer. Robinson was right. Their shields can't adapt to the shifting frequencies. Kate Martinez led the boarding teams personally. Dressed in powered armor suits based on Calaxian designs, her special forces breached the main station. They used Dr. Rivers' gas to neutralize Vexnar defenders, then captured key command personnel. We need officers for interrogation, Martinez reminded her teams. And remember, not all aliens are our enemies. Look for Vexnar who surrender willingly. They may be sympathizers. Back on the Calaxian homeworld, Vexilor finally gained enough council support to establish direct communication with the humans. He sent a tightly focused transmission directly to Dr. Rivers. The Confederation is fracturing, Vexilor told Rivers during their first conversation. 3 species now officially oppose continuing the war. Only Admiral Zorthax and his loyalists insist on fighting to the end. Rivers' face showed cautious hope. Would the Council accept peace talks? It's possible, Vexilor said. But Zorthax still commands our largest fleet. He calls dissidents traitors and threatens anyone who speaks of peace. In the council chambers, Vexilor had become more outspoken. He displayed the latest battle data showing the human victory at Alpha Centauri. They now have the capability to strike our home systems, he told the stunned council members. This war was a mistake from the beginning. We underestimated them, insulted them, and attacked them without provocation. An elderly council member rose slowly. What do you propose? Open negotiations immediately, Vexilor answered. Recognize them as equals, not subjects. Offer real alliance terms, not demands for surrender. Admiral Zorthax stormed into the chamber, flanked by armed guards. This is treason. The humans are animals who got lucky with stolen technology. They cannot be allowed to threaten our worlds. They already do threaten our worlds, Vexilor replied calmly. Because of your arrogance. News of the human victory spread quickly through the Confederation. The 3 species who had been wavering, the Trell, Baxon, and Morith, formally withdrew from the conflict, leaving only the Calaxians and some Vexnar still fighting. Admiral Morgan received these reports with satisfaction as her fleet returned to Earth. She addressed her crews before they docked. Today we showed them that humans are not confined to one world or one system. Today we proved we can strike anywhere they can. She paused, looking at each officer on the bridge. But remember, our goal isn't destruction. Our goal is lasting peace. We fight so well because we want the fighting to end. As Morgan's fleet approached Earth, they received an urgent message from Defense Secretary Martinez. Return to battle stations immediately. Admiral Zorthax has left Calaxian space with their entire remaining fleet. Intelligence suggests he plans a final devastating attack on Earth. The Calaxian Confederation was breaking apart. Emergency meetings filled the council chambers day and night. Accusations flew between species. The Vexnar blamed the Calaxians for starting an unnecessary war. The Calaxians called the others cowards for abandoning the fight. On his flagship, Admiral Zor Thax watched his officers prepare for the final assault on Earth. His once proud fleet had shrunk as ships defected or withdrew, but he still commanded enough firepower to destroy a planet. "The humans have forced my hand," he told his loyal commanders. "I had hoped to make them useful subjects. Now they must be eliminated before they spread through the galaxy with their chaos and unpredictability." His second-in-command looked troubled. "Admiral, complete destruction of Earth would violate every treaty the Confederation has signed." Zorthax's limbs twitched violently. "The Confederation is finished. Those weak fools never understood the threat these humans pose. Their creativity, their adaptability, it makes them dangerous to all ordered species." Unknown to Zorthax, his words were being transmitted directly to Earth. The recording devices that Martinez's teams had planted continued to function, sending every conversation back to human intelligence teams. Dr. Rivers burst into Admiral Morgan's office with the news. "Zorthax plans to destroy Earth completely. He's preparing something called a stellar converter, some kind of superweapon." Morgan immediately called Robinson. "Jack, how close is the Sunburst defense system to being ready?" "We need another week, maybe 2, Robinson replied, looking exhausted. "We don't have weeks. Zorthax is coming now." Robinson ran a hand through his messy hair. "Then we'll have to work faster. I'll need every engineer on the planet." As humans prepared their defenses, Vexillor made his boldest move yet. He gathered his most trusted Vexnar colleagues and stole a fast scout ship. They fled Calaxian space, setting course for Earth. "The Council has failed to stop Zorthax," he told his companions. "We must warn the humans directly and help them prepare." When Vexillor's ship appeared near Earth, defense systems targeted it immediately. But Dr. Rivers recognized the communication signature from their previous secret talks. "Hold fire," he urged Martins. "I believe these are allies." Vexillor's ship was escorted to a secure facility where President Phillips, Admiral Morgan, and the War Cabinet waited. It was the first time most humans had seen a Vexnar in person. They were tall, slender aliens with smooth blue skin and large, thoughtful eyes. "Admiral Zorthax has lost his mind," Vexillor told them without preamble. "He plans to use a stellar converter weapon against your world. It will tear your planet apart at the atomic level." Morgan leaned forward. "When will he arrive?" 3 days, Vexillor replied. "I've brought technical data on his fleet and weapons. I hope it helps you defend yourselves." Robinson's team worked without sleep, incorporating the new information from Vexillor into the Sunburst defense system. Originally designed to disable ships, the system was now their only hope of stopping the stellar converter. "It's not perfect," Robinson told Morgan on the final day of preparation. "But it's the best we can do with the time we have." Martinez positioned ground-based defenses as a last resort. "If they get past our ships and the Sunburst fails, we still fight to the last," she told her commanders. Dr. Rivers worked with Vexillor to draft potential peace terms. "We need these ready, just in case we win," Rivers explained. "No one should miss a chance for peace because they weren't prepared for victory." On the eve of battle, President Phillips addressed the world one last time. Her voice was steadied despite the enormous pressure. "Tomorrow, we face our greatest test. Admiral Zorthax comes not just to defeat us, but to destroy us completely. He does this because he fears what humanity might become, a creative, adaptable species spreading through the stars." She paused, her expression resolute. "His fear is justified. We will survive tomorrow. We will spread to the stars, and we will remember this lesson. Unity is our strength. For the first time in human history, we stand as one people, one planet. Whatever happens tomorrow, that unity is our greatest achievement." That night, Admiral Morgan couldn't sleep. She stood by the window of her quarters, looking at the stars where tomorrow's battle would be fought. The fate of humanity rested on her shoulders, and she felt the weight of every life on Earth. Admiral Zorthax's fleet appeared at the edge of the solar system exactly when Vexillor had predicted. 47 warships, led by the massive flagship Dominance, moved toward Earth in perfect formation. At the center of the formation, protected by layers of defenders, was the ship carrying the stellar converter weapon. Admiral Morgan watched from the bridge of her own flagship. "Begin Operation Phantom," she ordered quietly. Human ships scattered in what looked like panic and disarray. Some fled behind the moon. Others dove toward Mars. A few appeared to malfunction, drifting aimlessly in space. "They run," Zorthax said with satisfaction. "As I predicted, in the face of overwhelming force, their unity breaks." His tactical officer nodded. "No significant resistance detected, Admiral. We have a clear path to optimal firing position for the stellar converter." "Excellent. Proceed as planned." As the Calaxian fleet advanced deeper into the solar system, they noticed something strange. The human ships that had appeared damaged were now shadowing them, keeping perfect pace just at the edge of weapons range. "A curious tactic," Zorthax remarked. "But futile. They cannot stop us now." When the fleet reached the orbit of Mars, Admiral Morgan sprang her trap. The human ships that had fled behind the moon suddenly emerged, not in panic, but in perfect formation. The ships near Mars reversed course with impossible speed, and the supposedly damaged vessels activated previously hidden systems. "Now," Morgan commanded. Robinson's sunburst system activated simultaneously from 100 different points. The devices looked small and harmless, simple satellites that had been quietly positioned over the previous days. But when they activated together, they created a web of energy that enveloped the entire Calaxian fleet. On the Dominance, alarms blared. Weapons systems failing, the tactical officer reported with panic in his voice. "Shields at 20% and falling." "Impossible." Zorthax rage. "Counterattack immediately." But his ships could barely move, caught in the web of disrupting energy. As they struggled, human vessels closed in from all sides. Not just military ships, but converted cargo vessels, science vessels, even space station segments that had been weaponized. At that moment, Vexillor broadcast to all Calaxian ships. His message played on every communication system. "This is Vexillor of the Vexnar Science Council. Admiral Zorthax has led you into an unwinnable war based on his prejudice and pride. The Confederation Council has voted to end this conflict. Zorthax no longer commands with authority. I urge all ships to stand down immediately." On 29 of the Calaxian vessels, officers looked at each other and then lowered their weapons. Shields powered down. Engines went to minimal power. They had seen enough of human determination to know this battle was lost. But on the Dominance and 17 other ships, Zorthax's loyalists prepared to fight to the end. "They are animals," Zorthax screamed. "I will not surrender to animals." He ordered the stellar converter prepared for immediate firing, even though the targeting systems were compromised by the sunburst effect. Morgan saw the energy building in the weapon ship. "All vessels, focus fire on the converter," she ordered. "Maximum power, all weapons." Hundreds of human weapons fired at once. The converter ship's weakened shields collapsed instantly. The vessel broke apart, its deadly energy turning back on itself in a brilliant flash that consumed 3 nearby Calaxian ships as well. On the Dominance, Zorthax watched in disbelief as his ultimate weapon disappeared in flames. "Continue the attack," he ordered, but his voice had lost its conviction. His second-in-command finally stood up to him. "No, Admiral. This war is over. You were wrong about the humans. We all were." 2 days later, aboard a neutral vessel positioned between Earth and the Moon, the formal surrender was signed. Admiral Morgan represented Earth. Vexillor represented what remained of the Confederation. Admiral Zorthax, now a prisoner, watched in silent fury. "Today marks not just the end of a war," Morgan said during the ceremony, but the beginning of a new chapter for both our peoples. 1 year later, the new Interstellar Alliance held its first full council meeting. Representatives from Earth sat alongside delegates from the 5 former Confederation species. Admiral Morgan and Vexillor, now close friends and colleagues, had been chosen as the Alliance's first joint leaders. In the new council chambers on a space station orbiting Earth, a simple plaque hung on the wall. It read, "Don't provoke the humans," a lesson written in stars.